In this video demonstration, we'll take a look at some of the key functionality of the Jamcracker CSP Standard Appliance, a virtual appliance specifically designed for Microsoft CSP partners looking to sell, provision, and manage Microsoft Cloud products. The functionality we'll be exploring in this video includes the catalog with its pre-integrated Microsoft offerings for software as a service, like Office 365, Dynamics, and others. We'll also take a look at infrastructure as a service via Microsoft Azure and other public cloud providers like Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud Platform. Self-service ordering and license assignment, policies and dashboards to help you manage your costs, security, and licenses. Financial management for pricing, billing, and settlement. And lastly, we'll take a look at the control you have over the branding, the content, and the general look and feel of the user interface. With that, let's get started. Okay, so here I'm in the catalog for the Jamcracker store, and you can see a selection of Office 365 and infrastructure as a service offerings, both software as a service and infrastructure as a service. You can filter on any of these tags here, and you can add additional tags as well, maybe for mobility or productivity. You can group things however you like. But here we have the SAS services. Let's go ahead and pick Office 365 and go ahead and sign up for that. So after selecting that, we see three different offers here. We have Business Premium, Straight Up Business, and Business Essentials. I'm going to go ahead and purchase Business Essentials here for this demo. I'll go ahead and add that to the cart. As you can see, it's £6. And it's a standard shopping cart experience. So I can change the quantity, I can add and remove items, continue shopping, etc. If there were any other fees like setup fees, those would appear here as well. So you can add additional items to the shopping cart, or you can just check out after selecting one. As we're going through the checkout process, we'll need to accept any terms and conditions or license agreements. I can scroll down here and show you a little bit of this one. If there were multiple items in the cart, different agreements would appear here, and I could agree to all of them in order to continue the purchase. So after accepting those terms and conditions, I can then enter additional information for Microsoft. In this case, I am an existing cloud customer. If not, then I could enter some new information here. But as I am an existing user, it'll use the existing domain that I have. But if you didn't, if you were a new customer, you could click Now and enter in a new domain. It would create your domain for you. Go ahead and finish. And now we go to the payment details screen. In this case, we just set up for pre-approved credit. But if we were using credit cards and going through a credit card processor, then you would see a screen to enter the credit card information here. In this case, I just go ahead and click Proceed and make the purchase. So the platform supports both models. In addition, it can also support PayPal for the payments. And we see here that the order has been confirmed. We can look in here under Manage Orders and see also that it has been fulfilled here. We get additional details if we like. Seeing who ordered it and when, how much it costed, and what the product was. Alright, so after looking at that, we can then go to the subscription screen. And here we'll see that Office 365 license is available. Now, in order to assign this to any users, I first need to go and give consent. It's a special Microsoft functionality. If I go to the smartboard, and we can see the subscriptions here, we see here under the Getting Started guide, I can click here to give consent. This is going to allow the Jamcracker platform to place orders on your behalf. You need to sign in. In this case, this is the user I have. And we can see here that it's looking for Jamcracker to get consent. We go ahead and accept. We should get a confirmation that it was successful. We can then go back and view the Getting Started guide. In this case, I'll just close it, go over to Manage Users. There's different ways to assign licenses. In this case, I'll just start with the user. Go over here and click Assign Subscriptions. So if you're buying a new license, you just want to give it to a few users, you can go ahead and do that. In this case, I have this one license available. I'll go ahead and click Save and Next. It has filled in the mail nickname and display name that I had set up when I created my user profile on the platform. Click Save and Finish. And when the screen refreshes, we see that there is now a subscription for me. If I go back to the dashboard, the smartboard, we see here now my subscriptions appears, and there's a launch button next to Office 365. I click on that, can then sign into Office 365 and begin using the software. Now, as we're going along and using it, maybe I need to add additional licenses or delete the subscription altogether. We can do that by managing subscriptions here. This is all pretty standard software as a service functionality within the platform for the different services. We can go ahead and view the details. And we can add licenses this way by increasing the quantity, clicking Apply, confirm that. I'm adding 2 more licenses. Click OK, and it'll take me into a shopping cart again. We can see I'm getting 2 more licenses. I can secure checkout one more time. And again, go down, confirm the payment details, and proceed. So as you can see, you can create a new subscription and manage and add additional subscriptions if needed. Now we can say I have a quantity of 3 of those licenses, with one of them assigned, and assign those off to users as desired. You can also go through the whole process if you want to just turn off the license and deprovision everything. You can just quickly do that and turn off the licenses. So there you see the subscription management that's available on the platform, giving you a self-service portal as an end user, or if you're a managed service provider looking to do this on behalf of your customers, you can proxy in and do all this as well for them. So in addition to software as a service, we can also provision workloads in Microsoft Azure or other cloud providers. For instance, we have this offering here for CentOS 6.1 in Azure. Now, when provisioning infrastructure as a service workloads, it doesn't use the same shopping cart analogy. It uses something different here we call the launch palette. And here we'll see more details of the infrastructure as a service workload. In this case, just a single machine. I can go ahead and give it a name. Give it some description if I like. And maybe add a sales reference code or use tags. Tagging is useful for things such as policies. We can assign multiple tags. This will give us control via policies and also via tag analytics dashboards. So as you can see here, giving us views into data that we wouldn't have otherwise. So now with each of the resources involved in this workload, we can go ahead and give them names. I'll just call this my VM. Select the vendors. In this case, it's only Azure. But if this were a workload that had been designed to operate in multiple clouds, you'd have multiple offerings here. And really all these settings that I'm going to go through now quickly, such as the region, the OS version, instance size, etc., are all things that the designer has control over. Azure likes to give username and password. And then we select resource groups. And it's retrieving the information dynamically from Microsoft Azure of the standard LRS storage type. Select the storage account, availability set, and then networking information. We could assign public IPs if there are any available. In this case, I do have one. This would be a persistent IP address that you can purchase separately. I happen to already have one available to show you the functionality here. You can also modify different security groups as well. In this case, I have SSH and web protocols open to the world. That's fine for me. I'll go ahead and scroll back up and go ahead and launch. Now, if I had set up pricing, we would have seen that there was pricing available there that would have given you the price had this machine been running for a full month. We can see here that the application stack is initializing. And we'll actually go through the steps of creating the orchestration plan, security groups, rules, networking, interfaces, and ultimately we'll launch the application in a virtual machine and begin running. Now once the stack is launched, there's various things we can do operationally. We can manage the individual instances. We can manage images, volume snapshots, static public IP addresses. We can import resources. As you can see, there's a lot here for managing infrastructure as a service as part of our cloud management platform functionality. Now, the items that appear here in the catalog were in order to look at the templates are actually used to define those workloads in the catalog. We need to log into the management interface. As you can see, it's a separate login. I'll log in as that admin. Come here to infrastructure as a service. And here we see the different stack templates that are available. I can create a brand new one. And here we'll see something similar to what the user saw when they launched it. But we see a panel over here that gives us some resources that we can drag into the palette and begin to do designing. So let's take a look. Let's drag maybe a couple of Linux machines in, and then maybe a database. So here you see an application stack with 3 different resources. I can give the stack a name, description if I like. I can add tags to the whole stack. And if I look at each resource individually, I can define its name. Maybe I'll call this the web. And then we can select which cloud provider we want that to be able to run on. The stack designer has the ability to define where you can launch this application. After running through these options here, we can go ahead and go through a publishing process. I'm not going to do all that in the demo here, but that's where we'll be able to have tighter control over regions, machine sizes, etc. Different options that you can limit the users from selecting as a designer. Additionally, we can do script injection or control these by chef cookbooks. For instance, if I drag a chef cookbook onto this web server, I take a look at it, scroll down to cookbooks. Here we can see I can select whether it's enterprise or open source chef, and then enter the parameters that will point me at the right location where I can find my cookbooks, everything with the keys and all that. And then we can specify the cookbooks that we want to use when launching this machine. And these cookbooks will then be applied once the instances start running. The cookbooks will then be used to drive the configuration of these instances. In addition to just defining each of these individually, we can also define the network path between them, at least specifying what protocols you want to run. Maybe this needs support 500 for this particular application to work between the web and the app server. That's one example. Once I run through the publishing process, I can then choose which stores to make this available into, and then they would appear in those end user catalogs that we had shown you earlier. Now for dashboards, there's separate software as a service and infrastructure as a service dashboards. So with the SAS dashboard, you're getting a view into your costs. You can look at the trend, broken out by provider as well. In this case, we have all Microsoft. A look into your licenses that are available or in use, as well as your order request status and the cost by each of the offers and the trend as well. For the infrastructure as a service dashboard, here we actually give you a few different views into the data. The first one is the cloud resources, or what I call a live dashboard. This gives you a real-time view of your resources within the cloud provider. There's also a recommendations dashboard, which will give you recommendations to help you save costs and also increase your security. So looking here, we have some recommendations for dashboards if they're underutilized or unused, volumes if they're unused. For instances, here we see we have one underutilized instance, giving you a view into what we consider underutilized. You can then go and maybe resize the machine to save some money. We also look for redundant snapshots, images, any unused public IPs that you might have paid for but are not using. Same thing for load balancers. And for security, we also will give you a view into any security groups that we think are maybe a little too wide open on the internet. There are other dashboards here as well, such as the executive dashboard, that gives you another more of an executive view of the overall trend for all of your infrastructure as a service costs. And all of these dashboards that I'm showing you are all customizable, either changing the type of display or the time frame, etc. But in this case, in the executive dashboard, we see here we get the breakout by provider. In this case, I'm spending on both Azure and AWS. You can look at the trend for both of those as well, and get some other views based on the services, the storage type, or the resources themselves. Again, all these are customizable. Go to top 10 and change the graph types as well. Further, all of these dashboards can be customized with different data sources as well if those APIs are available. There are ways to create different widgets and call those different APIs and display the data using the Google Charts APIs. If you need a little more granular view into the data, the cost analytics dashboard does that, breaking things up, maybe showing you the trend and what your estimated cost for the month would be. Break it up by platform, by the different instance types or sizes, by the types of IS usage, resource counts, and also count by the source of creation. The cloud platform is referring to the Jamcracker platform here. If you had any virtual machines that were being spun up in these accounts via the native consoles, you would see some other entries here in the pie chart. This next dashboard is the Tag Analytics dashboard. It allows you to slice and dice the views of data however you want them, whether you want to view your costs based on what phase of the life cycle they're in, production, QA, or demos, those sorts of things, or by application types or projects. Whatever tagging schema you decide to use when launching those workloads, you can then get a view of those. So you get the cost by the tags, again, top 5, top 10, show all of them. Look at the trend for a given tag and its value. You can look at the VM counts and the costs based on those tag keys, as well as the instance cost and product cost by those tags as well. So again, using tags, you're really able to get the type of view that you need into your data that are applicable for your organization. Now, when it comes to policies, you can create various policies in the system to help you manage your costs and maybe manage your licenses. With any policy, whenever you're creating it, you would give it a name, a description, and you can set the policy for either an instance, a volume, or usage. Let's take a look at some of these options here. For instances, filtering on the key value pairs. Again, using those tags to define what instances are going to be acted upon. Then based on a calendar policy, with a calendar policy, you can say at a certain time of a week or a day, once a day, do something. Whereas a create server policy would be useful when a machine is actually being launched. You could check for license status there. But like using a calendar policy, for example, we could say, okay, on a weekly basis, perhaps at a certain time, on a certain day of the week, or a couple days during the week, I want to take some action. Maybe I want to stop the servers on Fridays and start them again on Monday, or maybe I just want to resize them down on Fridays and then resize them again up on a Monday. You can also send email notifications. You can also create an image. As part of a backup and restore program, you can create images on a regular basis. And then separately for volumes, you could go and create snapshots of those volumes, again, filtering by key value pairs and using a calendar policy, separate calendar policy. You'd probably want to either delete unused volumes or, in this case, probably create snapshots. Again, supplementing the instance policy where you're creating images, we can create snapshots of the data itself, so you can have a separate backup frequency for your data versus the actual machine image itself. Okay, so that's showing you a little bit about volumes and instances. And there are also some usage policies that help you get a view into your costs. So maybe you want to say on some sort of period, you would want to maybe send an alert if you have crossed some threshold for either a given product or within a certain provider. So if I just want to say, so my Amazon costs or my Microsoft Azure costs, I could set some sort of a threshold here, maybe $100 or $1,000 as a threshold, and this policy will run and send an alert if you're exceeding that policy. You can also do that at the product level itself. So within Microsoft, looking at virtual machines, if my virtual machines are costing me more than a certain amount, I want to be alerted. So you can get a breakdown for specific products within that provider as well. So that's a quick view into policies. Now, in terms of financial management, for the end users, they can see orders and their invoices here in the menu. In this case, we have a system here with one invoice. You can go ahead and take a look at it. This invoice was created before I put any pricing into the system, so it's going to show zero pricing, but here you can see some of the different services that I had ordered at one point. And this would all be listed in one invoice here within the platform. Now, if you have an external system that you'd like to export data to and have that used for billing, that can be done as well. But out of the box, it can operate in a standalone mode, providing a single unified invoice for any Microsoft products or other public infrastructures and service providers as well. So that's at the store level for the end users. Going back into the admin interface, if I exit out of this, I then also have the ability to do some management in here. If I could look under administration, service management, maybe I'll look at Office 365. I believe this is the service that I want to look at. We see here the cataloging information, so I can control what appears in the catalog. It's an HTML editor, so you have a lot of control over that. You can turn on license management, like we saw me do managing subscriptions earlier. The service level agreement or the terms and conditions that I had to click through, and any categories that we want to assign it into. These categories are all customizable as well. You can then take a look at the offers for the service, and here we see those three offers that I had before. Looking at Business Essentials, which is the item I had ordered. We can see here the pricing, ordering and pricing information. So we see the name of the offers, what kind of licensing it has, and some additional information that helps us provision the service. If I go into the Pricing Information tab, we see the unit price descriptions, quantities, unit price quantities, etc. What the billing cycle is, in this case it's an annual subscription. We can look at the setup fees. If there are any setup fees, I can apply those in here. Then we can come down here and look at the pricing at the different layers. So this ISV to Marketplace section shows us the pricing in each of the currencies that we want to make available. We can see the pricing that would be, we can see the cost that we would owe to the service provider, in this case Microsoft. So if we were looking at the British pounds, it's 5 British pounds that will be owed to Microsoft for this. Then we can also have separately the price offered to the store. And here we'll see for British pounds, we're offering a slight uptick for the wholesale price to the store, as well as a minimum retail. Now the store manager also has the ability to come in and see this sort of pricing. If I were to come and look at, say, let's take a look at one of the stores that could do that. Go to the stores and look at this store here. Then look at the catalog. And if I look down at this Office 365 Business Essentials, as you can see here, I have different pricing available to me for the retail price. So I've set the retail price separately, and that's what the end users would see when they are seeing it in the catalog. And as you can see here, I'm proxying in, and I can go further. I can proxy in to all the way to the customer as well. This is how I would enter in and do things on behalf of the end customer. So just like I'd shown you before when I logged in as the end user, I'm doing it this way as well. What it doesn't allow you to do is actually get in and use the services. That's intentional, but we do allow you to go through and view the catalog, place orders, and assign subscriptions on behalf of those users. So there you see some of the functionality of the catalog with the different pricing levels. We also have a rich set of reports that help us manage the business with the different pricing levels as well, whether it's handling different service activities, login activities, users, or handling order management. You can see a rich set of reports in here helping us to do that, including the settlement reports. These settlement reports will break out the cost and the money owed at the different layers. What is the price owed to the vendors themselves, like Microsoft? How much you as the MSP would be collecting from any of the retail stores. That might be your own stores, or if you had reseller partners, it would be what you collect from them. And then those resellers would also have their own version of these reports, which would show them how much to collect from each of the users. So it gives you full marketplace settlement. We can also generate custom reports if needed. As an example is a daily consumption report that gives us some information about infrastructure as a service orders. But as you can see, using different data marts, we can go and select from these data marts, and then pick which fields we want to include in the reports and generate those reports on demand. These could also be scheduled via a cron job and maybe pushed out somewhere if you have an external system to do financial management. But with the custom reporting capabilities, you're able to then get views into the data that can really be helpful for your business. So the last topic I want to cover here is the control over the branding and content and general look and feel. We use Drupal as a content management system, and we'll provide you with the login information to come in and customize the look and feel. So as you can see, I'm logging into Drupal here, and here I have the ability to go and look at the different content and other various controls to give you complete control over what you want to show and how those items would be appearing. For instance, if I click on edit here, and this again is the standard Drupal interface. We can add different types of services, different overviews here to the cloud, supplemental materials, requirements, facts, which categories you want to appear in, etc. We can also add additional tags and choose which stores to publish to. So with this, there's a lot of information. If you're familiar with Drupal, there's a lot of things you can customize, looking at different contents or adding different structure. Everything available in Drupal is available to you as a store administrator, so you can really have a customized storefront beyond just what you get out of the box, which is what you would see here. So that wraps up the content of the video for the CSB Standard Virtual Appliance. If you'd like to get more information, please contact us at information@jamcracker.com or visit our website at www.jamcracker.com. Thanks for